Oh, good evening, everyone. I'm 1 minute late. Come on. I get to be 1 minute late once in a while. How's everyone doing tonight? I have a frosty cold beverage to try and keep me from overheating because it's 1,000,000 degrees right now. Not 1,000,000, it was 102 in Jerome today, which is fairly unusual for us. But that's a little bit cooler, if you can use that word, than it was a couple of days ago. It was 114, which is not something we usually get around here. 112, yeah, down there. Hello in Michigan, 102, that's it. Yeah, Jim, you're down there in Anthem with the jackrabbits and the saguaros and such. Well, good. I guess you guys can hear me. It sounds okay. I've got the blower on full blast, so that's what you're hearing in the background. Only 92. Thank you for joining me tonight. This is just Diet Coke. Nothing else. There's no adult beverage in here. It's just Diet Coke. But you know, if you guys are having an adult beverage, cheers. Happy Wednesday. Happy third Wednesday of the month. I'm glad y'all could make it tonight. I almost didn't. I was cleaning the track, trying to get the trains running, and kind of ran out of time. Lost track of the time. Jason Jensen Trains, welcome. Lynn McCurdy, welcome. Paul Olam, welcome. All the usual suspects. Josh, John Clark. We'll go through. Let's see who. Oh, everybody's here. Jim, hi Jim. Jeff. Anyway, good evening. You guys want to do a little walkabout? I like to start off, I think that's becoming a little tradition. We'll do a little walkabout. I like to do that on these live streams, give you just a little tour of the layout. Hi Heath, as it looks right now. Got the gimbal all charged up tonight, so it's not gonna die on us. Howdy folks, that's my line. And you know, I guess I should explain that howdy folks that I start every video with. For those who don't know, I'm sure most of you know this. That goes back to the old, hello John, that goes back to the old Nature's Wonderland attraction. Howdy folks, welcome to the little mining town of Rainbow Ridge. Good old Dal McKennon. And then, of course, he also did the original narration on Big Thunder, too, where he also said, howdy, folks! Best hang on to them Hansen glasses. They changed the line now, though. Best remove them, that's what they say now. Used to be, hang on to them Hansen glasses. Anyway, that's where that howdy, folks came from. Started as kind of an inside joke with a friend of mine, and now I can't start a video without saying it. So, howdy, folks! Welcome to Thunder Mesa's studio. This here's the wildest ride in the wilderness. I've told Disney if they need somebody to re-record the narration because unfortunately Dal is no longer with us. Give me a call, man. I can do it. So let's do a little walkabout of the, see what the layout's doing right now. I got a train running back there. I have no idea if it is actually running because like I said, I just cleaned the track and turned it on. We'll see. We'll see how it's going today. Spin you around here and we'll do a little flip of the screen so you look at the layout instead of me. Here we go. Start over here with Calico Mountain. I was running a mine train. It's decided to stall back there somewhere. Well, we'll get to that in a minute. Oh, you guys aren't supposed to see this. I guess you can see it. There's a new structure over here in Calico Town. That is the next build video coming up. That is Cordelia's Cafe, home of famous fried chicken and farm fresh boysenberry pies. Since you guys are here for the live stream, I'll give you a preview of that. I used this build to explain the process of using photo textures, printed photo textures in modeling, because so that whole front, the top of the false front wall there is paper, actually. So that's Cordelia's place, and if you look closely, there is a boysenberry pie cooling in the window out there. The biscuits are good too. And just down the street, just as it is in real life, there's Walt's place. Oh, here comes the train. We've got to stop for the train. The birdcage is not a two-story structure, no. Well, there's an upper part that holds the catwalk and the lighting and stuff like that in the back, but the theater itself, no. This was built by my pal Jake Johnson, the birdcage back there, and it's a kind of a hybrid between the Knott's Berry Farm version and the real one that's down in Tombstone. There are some Blazing Saddle references here and there. There is a basement in the birdcage, yes, that's true. But that doesn't make it a two-story building. If we're gonna quibble and equivocate, going around to little mining town of Rainbow Ridge. Howdy, folks. Rhubarb. Never rub another man's rhubarb. Quick, name that movie. Little Horse Thief Canyon. Say hi to Indiana Jones. Checking out the Indian ruins. Still looking for Coronado's Cross in there. Belongs in a museum. Train's running a little fast. They must be running behind schedule. And the little burg of Hanging Rock. There is a birdcage theater on Whiskey Row, and it's named after the one in Tombstone. It's not the original birdcage theater. Oops. I forgot to turn the caverns on. So there's no rainbow tonight. Dinosaur Gap. See if we can catch the train coming through Dinosaur Gap here. That's always a nice shot. The caverns, yeah, that's right. The people behind the scenes that work in the caverns, turning the lights on and off, are on strike. They're SAG. Geyser Gulch. Should we? Yeah, we should. Absolutely. Let's see if the geyser wants to erupt. There it goes. There she blows. Look out, folks. She's going again. It's old unfaithful. Anyway, now I got Dal McKennon stuck in my head. And this is McKennon Arch right here. And the cactus forest. Jim, I need you to come up and clean the cobwebs off the layout. The scale spiders are getting out of hand. Check out this cool thing. Posted a photo of this the other day. A can of short line little gun. That is a Shivers kit built by the extremely able and talented Lindley Ruddick. The Green Ghost is sleeping tonight too. I had this wild thought that I might reopen the Nevermind. What do you guys think of that? Make it back into a working mine? It's been abandoned for, 10 years now. Maybe they found another ore deposit in there. I might, I don't know. Since I got so many other little haunted things here and there. Did someone say Lily von Stoop? The Teutonic Titwillow. Too damn tired to get back up. Thunder Mesa Town. Oops. Here comes the train. Yeah, definitely need to slow that down. That is not scale speed. Scale speed police are gonna chastise me. Always a fiesta going on over here in Zocalo Plaza. And, of course, the great unfinished engine terminal. One of these days it will be finished. Doc Holliday's grave in the cemetery. He died in Glenwood Springs, Colorado, though. I got to be historically accurate. Doc Holliday is still alive at this juncture because he has an office. I'll show you where that is. If you caught the video on the ON18 locomotives, there's the Walter Nod up there, posed on the little trestle. Over here in Rainbow Ridge, see there's a big gold tooth hanging up there. See if I can get in here close. It says dentist on the window, and the sign sticking out there says Dr. Henry Holliday Dentistry. You do need to do something in ON18. Everyone needs to do something in ON18. I'm an evangelist for ON18. Anyway, there's the, come on. There we go. There's the new structure. Cordelia's Cafe. The Hank give your tooth a yank. That's great. I thought it needed a big stone fireplace for cooking those berry pies in, so. I said that video is going to come out in, you're funny, Jim, ON18 Outhouse. That video will come out on Saturday, I think, on Cordelia's Place. How much space do you need for an ON18 layout? Well, I just happen to have the answer to that question right here. This is 24 by 36. And you could actually put it smaller than that. You could go 24 by 24 if you just wanted to go in a circle. You could go even smaller than that. It depends on how tight of a radius you want to go. But the Bandit Canyon is 24 by 36. Yeah, 2 by 3 feet. Do you have to build everything yourself in ON18? Russ, pretty much, yeah. If you saw my ON18 boxcar build, which there it is right there, I did talk about that. Yeah, you have to build everything. There are no ready-to-run locomotives or cars in ON18, really. There's a few things on shapeways, but those require paint and assembly, so there's really no ready-to-run. Coming back over here to the workbench. We'll get this bad boy turned around here. Do a gentle landing. No, it you know, it depends on as far as the size of 118. Yeah, that has an 8-inch radius. Those are 8-inch radius curves. It depends on how much you want to get in there, how much you want to put in there. If you want to have a lot of switching and stuff like that, then yeah, you're going to need a little bit more space than 24 by 36. But if you just want to do something scenic with a roundy round, like I'm doing here, yeah, 2 by 3. Something you can pick up and carry around yourself. That was the idea. Excuse me. Drinking on camera, that's a no-no. Okay, well, the topic for tonight was supposed to be, and still is, still can be, structure modeling. Specifically, not just structure modeling, but designing your own structures. And I wanted to talk about that because well, that's what I do. I design my own structures. And how I got started in that. Hi, Sean. Nice to see you. The Shea Meister, Sean Williams, is here. Glad you could make it tonight. I got started designing my own structures because no one sold the structures that I wanted. So that's how I started doing it. And unfortunately for me, I had a graphic design background. So that made it a little bit easier. I knew how to use, you know, design software and stuff like that, and I know how to use a pencil and paper and graph paper and stuff like that to get started. But I had to do a lot of research. Anytime there's a real old Western town, or a phony old Western town for that matter, I would take. And going back, I have shoe boxes of actual photos, you know, back when, when they used to print them on paper, full of photos from the Gold Country in California, Angels Camp, places like that. And of course, photos from Knott's Berry Farm, photos from Tombstone, Old Tucson, and then, and all those wonderful, charming little mining towns in Colorado, Crested Butte, Lake City, Telluride, Silverton, and just observing those details and making notes and kind of schooling myself in Victorian commercial architecture, because that's what most of my structures are. It's Victorian commercial architecture that was specific to the American West. Those false front buildings that we all think of, from Dodge City and Tombstone, stuff like that. That's Victorian era architecture of the American West. And then I found a great book, reference book, and it was a Sears Roebuck catalog, a reprint of a Sears Roebuck catalog from about 1900. And you can find these on Amazon and stuff like that. Different eras. And it had all of the architectural detail, because you used to be able to, you could buy these buildings, you could buy like the tin fronts and the iron, and the tin roofing and the siding and the elaborate entryways and doors and windows and all that kind of stuff. And they would ship it out to you, in a boxcar. If you were happen to be in Deadwood or someplace like that, you could have it shipped out and then trucked in, or then brought in by wagon and built. So old Sears Roebuck catalogs are a fantastic resource for period stuff like that. So anyway, I got started designing my own structures, like I said, because I couldn't find what I wanted. And it wasn't just the Disney stuff that I wanted to model, Rainbow Ridge and Big Thunder and all that kind of stuff, or the Knott stuff. It's just, there wasn't a lot of Old West buildings available at all. There's a few, the Wild West scale models came out and started after I got started. They came out and started producing kits, and those kits are fantastic. Bill Banta makes some nice stuff. There's some good stuff from Berkshire Valley, especially wagons. If you're looking for wagons, Berkshire Valley models. Great. But for the most part, you know, I was on my own. So I had to figure out how to do it myself. And for those of you who have just recently started following what I'm doing here on Thunder Mesa, you see I use the laser cutter a lot. There was a time that I didn't have one. So I do know how to do all this stuff, you know, by hand also. And because that's what I started with. I could take you right, well, and you know, we'll show you some examples later if you want, but and another thing I want to talk about, the aspect of this is I am very often asked to produce kits of my structures and stuff like that. And it's very flattering, and I appreciate it. And I have been in the model kit business, as some of you know. But the model kit business is a full-time job. Any kind of making and selling of a thing is a full-time job. The designing of the building and the building of one is a very, very different thing than designing it for a mass audience to build and then producing a bunch of them and fulfilling all the orders. As Jason knows, as Jason has learned so well, yeah, it's a big job. And I decided it wasn't a job that I wanted to do anymore. So and the problem is I hate saying no. I hate saying no to people. I want to say yes all the time. I want to say, yeah, sure, you could, but yeah, I just can't, I can't do it. I wouldn't be able to do this too. I wouldn't be able to do the videos, and I found that I really, really enjoy this. I really enjoy this forum, this community that we've created, and this is where my main focus lies now, is in doing these videos, and I just love it. So if I was doing kits too, I wouldn't really have time. That said, there are limited parts and details and things like that that are available to Thunder Mesa Studio members. And I'm not telling you all this to get you to sign up. The reason I do it that way is to make it manageable for me. So it's not like I'm not just inundated and overwhelmed and, you know, feeling like I've got to fill all these orders. So anyway, my goal, one of my goals with this channel and showing, you know, how I do things is not to have you imitate what I do or want to have, you know, the same structure. I know some of them are pretty cool. I admit they're pretty cool. But to have you inspired to design your own. Yeah, to give you the skills or point you in the direction where you can find the skills and then go out and do your own. Come up with your own original buildings. The thing I love the most about the Thunder Mesa layout, well, there's a lot of things I love about it. But one of the things I love the most is that 99% of these buildings you won't see anywhere else on anybody else's layout. And, you know, that is a gift that I would like to give to the entire model railroad community. We all remember back in the day, you go to somebody's HO layout in their basement, it's beautiful, the trains, and then, oh, there's that Revell engine house, and there's that, you know, you could pick out all of the different structures. And there is a wide world of buildings out there. And if you're interested in scale architecture, like I am, then, you know, take the next step. Draw something up. And you don't have to have a laser cutter. You need one of these, one of these, and maybe some illustration board and some wood to get started. Seriously. And some paint. That's really all you need. You don't need all the elaborate stuff. You don't need a bunch of software. You don't need a bunch of machinery. That's right. You can do it. So that's my little pep talk. I can't produce kits for everybody, but I want you to come up with your own stuff, your own original. If you see a building you think is really cool and would like to model a train station or some other railroad building, start small. Start with a little speeder shed or something like that. You know, there's a lot of great resources out there. Durango and Silverton, Coomers and Toltec. Go and look, the Colorado Railroad Museum. I'm just naming ones that are, you know, closer by to me. You know, wherever you happen to be in the world, there are resources out there that you can check out. And of course, the internet is a great source of that stuff. So, with that said, what would you like to know about designing your own structures? I get caught up on questions here. He said, "While I love watching your builds, they are so incredible. I do not believe I could ever make something as incredible as you make." See, now, I said this in one of my videos recently, and it is absolutely true because somebody said it to me once, a mentor, and I don't know where they got it from, but it's an old saying. Whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, you're right either way. So the first step is believing that you can. Yes, you can. You ever see a room full of kids? Art, you know, like the young, the kindergarten, first grade, second grade. Every one of those kids is an artist. Some are better than others, but everyone has that spark of creativity inside of them that they can tap into. So yeah, you can do it. It just takes, you know, you may not be able to do it today. It takes skill and practice. I've been doing this for a long time. So you know, so it takes a long time to build those skills and the eye and stuff to be able to see stuff. Sean says, I cheat, I buy my doors and windows from Grantline or Tichy. Nothing wrong with that. That's a great start because they're already in scale, we hope. I know that Tichy and Grantline definitely are. They are in scale. But here, I'll give you a little pro tip. If you take photos of a building you want to model, try to take them as straight on as you can. There's always parallax, so you're not going to get like, it's not going to be like a blueprint or an architectural rendering, but you can get an idea of the architecture of the building. And then when you look at that photo on your screen or whatever, the way you scale it for a model structure is look at the doors. Doors, at least in the 20th century for the most part. In the 19th century things were a little wonkier, but it's still a good rule of thumb. 80 inches. They're 80 inches tall. So that is your baseline. Look at the door. Draw an 80-inch door, you know, at scale on a piece of graph paper, and then you can extrapolate the rest of the building from the scale of the door. That's it. You know, that's the big secret. I was going to do a whole video on that, but it's like it only takes 5 minutes to explain. You know, look at the doors, and you know, if you that's how you scale a building from a photograph. Is just measure the doors. Jeff says, I love those old Revell buildings. They have real good detail for a box kit. Yeah, those shake the box kits. I love those old Revell kits. I love those old plastic shake the box kits. Man, I have wonderful. In fact, when I said that, I could smell the glue in my brain. So that's where my youth was spent. How about selling digital plans like the woodworking YouTubers do? I've been asked to do that many times also. I don't feel comfortable doing that. And that's because it's really easy for just one person to take that plan, and I'm not going to name any names or countries, but the one that comes to mind first is China, and start producing that thing, and then, you know, it's all over the place. So I just not, yeah, that's my intellectual property, so selling that is not something I'm actually interested in doing. I'm sorry. Yeah. And I don't want to see them everywhere. I want to encourage you to do your own, to come up with your own. Josh says, your pep talks and videos are working. I am proof. Thank you. That makes me feel good. I'm glad. The scary part is windowsills and doorways. Why is that scary? Yeah, you know, thank you, Nullstar SF. I just watched your Adobe Illustrator tutorial on designing buildings, and it was very helpful. Thank you. It's good to hear, because a lot of times when you're talking about software programs and stuff like that, and here you do this and you grab that, and you know, like, unless someone's, because I just went through this with the Cordelia's Cafe video, because it's all done in Adobe Photoshop. So that's the Illustrator video, this is the Photoshop video. And I explain how I create the signs and the walls and all that kind of stuff in Photoshop. But you have to have some familiarity with Photoshop for a lot of what I'm saying to make sense. So I'm hoping people's eyes don't glaze over while they're watching it. You know, if you have to have some familiarity with a photo editing software for it to work. But you know, that's just another skill to learn. And if you want to design buildings, at least the way I do, then that's a skill to learn. Tim Clock asks, are you still planning on an eventual tropical island dinosaur layout? I've had a layout in my head like that for some time. It's one of the ideas that's rattling around in the back of my brain, yeah. Every once in a while I'll go back to it and you know, do a little sketch or a little thinking about it. I don't have a track plan or anything like that yet. I gotta finish the Gruesome Gulch. And that's August. Coming up next month, I'll be working on Gruesome Gulch again. We'll be returning for the third time to the Gulch. There's only a couple of projects left, he said, hopefully. A couple of locomotive projects. I want to build some rolling stock. Yeah, so that's coming up. Because most of the layout itself is done, so now it's that kind of stuff. Macau Job says, I have no plans to build an HO, but I was at the Kit Collector show in Buena Park last Sunday and was sorely tempted to buy a bunch of white metal HO architectural details for $2 a bagful. Hey, you know, a lot of those architectural details can also be used in O scale or S scale. They'll just be smaller. You know, just be smaller stuff. Well, doors are obviously going to be too small unless you're, you know, modeling Hobbiton. But you know, I'm thinking like trim pieces and cornices and things like that. They'll just be smaller. Oh, that's difficult when all you have are pictures from 100 years ago. Well, that's where you know, excuse me. That's where you fake it. If all you have are pictures from 100 years ago and you're not sure what the standard size doors are, just assume they're 80 inches. You know, who's gonna tell you you're wrong? Is somebody gonna come back from 100 years ago saying, "Oh, that door was only 6 feet tall"? You know, just make a guess. Sammy's Workshop. When printing the building size, it up the doors and price. Yes. Size up to the doors are approximately 1.5 inches tall. The rest should scale evenly. Yeah, 1.5 inches. That would be 6 feet. So yeah, another 1/8 of an inch, and you'd be right on, dead there. You have Tester's plastic cement. You have a Tester's plastic cement tattoo? Awesome. For O scale, yeah, gotcha. Lindley Reddick, Cheerio boxes are a cheap source for backing boards. This is very true. A lot of times you'll hear me talk about something called chipboard. That's what that is. That's what cereal boxes are made of. So if you eat a lot of cereal, I don't eat cereal. I'm more of a egg guy when it comes to breakfast. But yeah, cereal boxes are great for that. Let's see. Yes, Russ, there's so much counterfeiting of products these days. I used to sell a lot of art prints. I don't sell as many as I used to. But there was a real problem with a lot of them being ripped off and sold without my knowledge, you know. Hey, if it's on the internet, it's free, you know, so they would just rip it off and sell it. I sent many cease and desist letters. Not that it does much good overseas, unfortunately. Ryan Gallagher, I certainly wouldn't have started making small-scale trucks via laser cutting without the insights gained here. Thank you. I hope to give that Rhyolite Depot we talked once upon a time ago after the convention. That would be awesome. Yeah, give it a go. Pick a train station. Pick a structure that you love. That's the key. Something that you want to see, that you want to have that model of and hold in your hand and put on your layout, and that will motivate you to learn the skills to do it. And it's you know, something that's not readily commercially available. Minx in the UK. Hi there from the UK. My husband and I are building a fantasy layout based on the sudden disappearance of humans and the emergence of fantasy creatures with trains. I love it. That's a great idea. I had another idea for a layout similar to that. We talked about this before, I think, in one of these live streams. It's kind of a Dungeons and Dragons themed layout. Different than this, but you know, it would be two-sided. One side, it'd be a forest with elves and everything. On the other side would be a castle with a dungeon and dragons down in the dungeon. Dragons. I shouldn't tell people about these projects because they're like, when are you going to do that? If I live to be 110. Jim asks, how many sticks of scale lumber do you typically use for a building? I'm thinking of buying several sizes at once and wonder how many of each I should aim for. I use a lot. I can tell you the ones I use the most of. You got a pen and paper? Write this down. 2x4s. These are the standard lumber sizes. 2x6s. I'm looking at my lumber up here. 4x6s. Use a ton of those. 8x8s. If you're building mining structures and stuff like that, post and beam, head frames, 8x8s. 1x12s for planking. I'm always running out of those. So I use a lot. I'm sorry I don't have a specific number for you, Jim. I'll get back to you on that. You know where to find me. Ask ChatGPT to design your 1800s buildings and see what happens. Might be an interesting experiment. Yeah, it might be. See you, Sean. Thanks for coming in tonight. Nice to see you, man. There are no scale plans for an ON30 cab forward. There you go. Perfect opportunity. Josh, yes, Josh. Jim, I never buy enough when shopping for my custom-made buildings. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's expensive, but get more than you think you need. Because you'll use it. I mean, at least I will. I always want to get more. I always want to buy more than I think I'm going to need. Like, okay, if I've only got like 5, like these are, what are these? 16 inches? This is a 16-inch 2x4 stick. I've only got about 10 of these left, so I need to order more. But you know, I do a lot more building than the average modeler because of the channel. I'm doing projects pretty much every week, so I'm constantly reordering lumber. And I get my lumber from Northeastern Scale Lumber and from Fast Tracks, which has the Kapler? I think they have Kapler. Someone will correct me if I'm gone or if I'm wrong. The Lego guy says, I'm starting a layout. Can you give me tips for beginners? Start small. Think big, start small. That's my best advice. Start something you can. Mount Albert, thank you. I knew it wasn't Kepler. Mount Albert. Start something you can finish in a year. You might dream of a huge empire, huge basement full of trains or attic or whatever, something like this, a big deal. But start small. Start like 4 by 8 or smaller would be my advice. Yeah, 8 by 8's like they're going out of style. Joshua Brown, I had an idea for your Peter Pan layout. Use a projector to play an animated background to simulate a moving sky. I love that idea. Yeah, I was thinking along something of the same, along the same lines. Kind of like an upscale version of what I did for the Gruesome Gulch. Yeah, if I ever have to move this layout and redo the backdrop for the Thunder Mesa, I'm definitely going to incorporate animated sky effects into the background. Clouds floating by and stuff like that. Thunderstorms. I have a thunderstorm now, but I would like it to move. Wouldn't that be cool? And a rainbow to appear after the rain. Good point. It is cheaper than buying 30 kits for a town. Buying your own lumber is definitely cheaper. Designing your own structures is also, that's another consideration. I didn't even think about that or talk about that, is yeah, you'll save money by designing and building your own structures. Hopefully, unless you screw it up and do it over, have to do it over and over again, which has happened to me. Sometimes the plan doesn't come together, but you don't see that in the videos. Okay. Yeah, balsa wood and coffee stir sticks. Coffee stir sticks come in a couple of different sizes. They generally, they're about 3 by 12 or 4 by 12 at scale. At least the ones I have are. Popsicle sticks, toothpicks, bamboo skewers. I get a lot of use of all that stuff. There you go. There's a list of lumber for a trestle. Sammy's Workshop says, mini layouts are super popular currently, 3 by 5 and smaller, and they are easier and faster to finish. I agree. I love mini layouts. Some of the most, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say some of the most creative modeling happening right now in the hobby is happening in mini layouts, and in particular in ON30. So, at least that's what I see. You might have a different view. But I think some of the most creative stuff I see is happening small mini layouts in ON30 and ON18. Let's see. Any good questions back here I missed? I'm just scrolling back through here. Mini layout, and it doesn't have to be a roundy round either. I would like to see more switching mini layouts, and I'm not a big switching guy. I enjoy it, but it's not my main focus. But you could do a lot with a shelf, and with an angle nook, which is like a fork, and just do a little switching layout. That's probably a great thing to start with. If you don't have a lot of space, you don't have a lot of money, you don't have a lot of time, and you're just getting started, yeah, mini layout. The Raging Dolphins Maniac says, I love these screen names. I've been thinking about a future-esque sci-fi layout, nothing like Jason's, but more Blade Runner and less Star Wars. That would be cool. Is it going to rain all the time? That would be really neat. Any new progress on the Bandit Canyon Railway? That's after Cordelia's place. I got another Workbench Wednesday, and then there's another. Yeah, there's going to be more rock work. I'm going to finish the butte that I carved before, and show how it all goes together. It actually comes apart. That's part of the deal, is because to get this thing in the back of my car, the top of the butte has to be removable. So figuring all that out. So that'll be the next thing I'm going to be. So there's going to be there's going to be a new rock formation on the horizon here very soon. 6-gun butte will be added to the Bandit Canyon Railway. I've already carved it. If you haven't seen it, here it is. Hasn't been painted yet. But yeah, that will be the next project for Bandit Canyon Railway. Have you thought of making a Tron railway? I have not. How about a Tron light cycle railway? That'd be cool. You could do that in Lego. Okay. Give me a minute while I catch up here. Everything that went missing after I dropped it on the carpet. In my recent video that you'll see, that's coming out Saturday on Cordelia's place, I showed you the little blueberry pie that's in the window, and what I didn't tell you is that's the second one, because the first one, I think it ended up in the trash can. I made it, and it's about a 1/4 inch across. I made it and I set it over here so it'd be safe. And when I went to grab something, a tool or something, when I was working on something else, it disappeared into the upside down here, which is what I call everything below the workbench is the upside down. So and I'm like, oh man, I probably spent 40 minutes looking for it. And then I realized, in that time, I could have easily made another one. So I did, and I never did find it. I think it actually landed in the trash can, and it's like, I'm not digging through that trash. I'm sorry. You're welcome, Lego guy. Good luck. May the force be with you, and welcome to the dark side. Oh, I was looking at the comments and it just jumped down to the bottom here. Mini layouts are cool, but Mike says, mini layouts are cool, but I like big little locos. Yeah. Unless you want to run porters all the time. I like big mini locos too. That's where a switching layout would come in. You could do something where, okay, a train appears from staging. It could be a big road engine, consolidation or bigger Mikado. And then, train uncouples from that, and then you have a switcher come and move the cars around. And then rebuild the train, and it disappears off in staging again, or off to a little cassette shelf. So it can be done. It's just hard to do a little roundy round with big locomotives on a little layout. Way back in the 60s or 70s, Model Railroader had, Ryan Reynolds, way back in the 60s or 70s, Model Railroader had a semi-plan for railroad on the moon. That's back when the moon fever must have been the late 60s or early 70s. Yeah, I don't remember that. Josh asks, you have several bridges that need to be built on the Thunder Mesa. Thank you for reminding me. Time frame on the construction. There's one big bridge. 2, 3. There's one that's slated to get done this year. It's been on the schedule since January. So that's the trestle over Spencer Gulch. which is going to be a dry wash with a sheep herder and a herd of sheep down at the bottom. That'll be fun. So yeah, that one will get built this year. The big bridge over Coyote Canyon, probably 2024. Tim Clock, do you have a favorite site location for buying your foam for carving, rocks, etc.? I assume you mean the polyurethane foam. I get it from Blick Art Materials. I prefer buying from them rather than Amazon because they specialize in art materials and they're not Amazon. Dick Blick, blickartmaterials.com, blick.com, dickblick.com. I put a link to it with on the 3 kinds of foam, or 3 methods for carving foam video. There's a link down in the description to Blick Art Materials. So that's where I like to get it from. The noise in the background, it's probably the fan you're hearing. Also, there's a yoga class upstairs right now. Mike says, never put it someplace safe, you'll never see it again. Boy, that's the truth. I should have put it like way over there, like on my other table, not like right here where I'm spazzing out while I'm making stuff, going, where's my hobby knife? Yeah, that's why I got lost. I have a couple of HO Craftsman kits here too. They're actually gifted to me by Jake Johnson. And I don't know, maybe I'll do an HO layout someday. I never say never, it could happen. I have plans for them. Let's see. Bob, are you here incognito? You're here in disguise? You have more than one YouTube account, you rascal you? Hi, Bob. I'm glad you could make it. Is there an ON18 CA asks, Dave, is there an ON18 280 in the future? Not for Thunder Mesa. And that's because the curves are too tight. The largest locomotive I can run on Thunder Mesa is a outside frame 440. And sometimes you'll see that going around the corner. Barely makes it. There's a 15-inch radius curve over here, and that's the tightest corner on the layout. So a 280, as much as I love consolidations, I have a dream one day, though, of perhaps doing another ON30 layout, totally different than Thunder Mesa, much more reality-based, based on California Pacific Coast narrow gauge, like the North Pacific Coast, Central Pacific Coast, South Pacific Coast. One of those, kind of a mishmash of those. So that would, that would run 260s and consolidations and a couple of 440s too, but then you'd be able to, run some bigger engines. But that's, who knows if that's ever going to happen. I don't know where I'll find time to do that. That would be awesome. I would love to do that. I feel that California narrow gauge is some of the most fascinating, and went through some of those beautiful country, and is really underrepresented in the hobby. Everything narrow gauge is Colorado, and yes, Colorado narrow gauge is cool. I mean, come on, Rio Grande Southern is fantastic, but where's my where's a California 260 like the Emma Nevada? Somebody needs to produce that in ON30. It'd be fantastic. And by that, the California, that means that it's got the rear, it's 2 drivers are pushed further back, and then the front driver's a little closer. Instead of them being evenly spaced like a Colorado and Southern 260, the one that most of us are familiar with from Bachmann. Yeah. Google Nevada and you'll see what I'm talking about. They did it in G scale. Just scale it down, guys. Just scale it down to ON30, please. I would buy it just to stick it on a shelf. Because I don't have any place to run it yet, but I would love to have one. Thank you, Ryan, for the illustration. I appreciate that with the circles. If you guys have been catching the Workbench Wednesday videos, that's a new deal. I hope you're enjoying those. I really enjoy doing them. What would you like to see next? I want to ask you, what would you like to see in that format? Or it's basically just a show and tell. I'm showing models. I might do some tool ones too, where I'm talking about tools or things like that. Let me know what you would like to see, and I will try to work those into future Workbench Wednesdays. So, is there a good 280 donor? You mean an HO scale? Yeah, probably. I can't think of one off the top of my head because it hasn't been on my radar to build one, so I haven't been looking for it, but I bet there is. Is it hot there? Grain Express has, is it hot there today? I met James Powell at the spring. Hi, Jim is great. Jimmy Powell, Jimmy P, at the Springfield Mass Train show and told him, I love the podcast when you have him on. It was great to have him on. It was great to have everybody on there ahead of the podcast. James is great. Is it hot here? Yes. It was a mere 102 today in Jerome. A couple of days ago it was 114. And then it rained so hard that it knocked, shingles off the roof for about 10 minutes, and then it stopped, and it hasn't rained since. This is supposed to be our monsoon season right now in Arizona, where it gets really hot, but then we have thunderstorms come in the afternoon and cools things down. We haven't been getting a lot of that yet. Hopefully soon. They have 3-foot narrow gauge in San Bernardino and Redlands, yeah. And of course the famous Southern Pacific, Carson, Colorado, on the other side of the mountains. The MPC was an absolute gem. You are correct, Bob. Absolutely love that railroad. Sammy, I did a video on, it's in the quick tips. If you go to the channel on YouTube and go down, it's one of the playlists, quick tips. I did a whole video on building mock-ups. Where are they? Where was that one I was just looking at? In fact, I built this one for that video. And my most recent video, I built the actual building. So it's the circle of life. Brings you up to date. So now, Jim, I got another mock-up for you if you want it. Yeah, that's did a video on that. The old MDC ones, that's what I was thinking of, Sammy, is the old MDC Roundhouse 280s. What was funny about, Roundhouse did the 280 kits, and the 280 standard gauge and narrow gauge was exactly the same one, it's just the gauge was different. An ON18, ON18 280 donor. Yeah, the Roundhouse 280, now Ethern. The Ethern 280, formerly Roundhouse, would be, you could make one in ON18. It'd be awesome. That would work. About that big. Probably about 5 inches long with the tender. Let's see. Go away. Not you. You. Sorry, just talking to my iPad. Right. The Roundhouse 280 has blind center driver, so it will negotiate sharp corners. Oh, that's a great idea, Bob. Talk about Vern Niner and his. Yeah, I have some. I think never before seen photos of his Estrella and Sonora Grande Railroad, his ON30 Railroad, which was a groundbreaking railroad in a lot of ways. Vern was a hell of a nice guy, and a excellent modeler and an innovator in the hobby. And he had, or before he started, I should save this for the video, but I got to be thinking about him now. For Workbench Wednesday, that's a great idea. And I've got a couple of his locomotives that I could talk about. Yeah, definitely going to do that. Yeah, he was an N-scale modeler. He had a big prototype Santa Fe layout that was highly respected within the N-scale community until he decided to tear it all down and build his ON30 Dream Desert layout, the Estrella and Sonora Grande. So yeah, that's a great idea. I will talk about that. Wow, man, this hour flew by. Any last minute questions, comments, criticisms? Keep those to yourself. Before I go, I'm definitely going to do that, Bob. That's a great idea. Let's see, DLT Berkshire, any thoughts about adapting models of the trains from Disneyland Paris because their steamers are Americans? The Disneyland Paris locomotives are clones, you probably know this, of the CK Holiday and EP Ripley, the original Disneyland engines. So they're the same. They're basically scaled up Lily Bells. So they're exactly the same. All of the ones at Disneyland Paris are 440s, and they were built specifically for Disneyland Paris, and they're all based on the CK Holiday and the original Lily Bell. They're really cool engines. I like the way a lot of them are dressed. They just changed the cosmetics on them, so they're really cool. Same thing with Hong Kong Disneyland, except those are diesels with sound generators to make them sound like steam engines. They're not real steam engines in Hong Kong, which is very disappointing. But not as disappointing as the fact that Shanghai doesn't have a railroad at all. How can you build a Disney park without a railroad? I want to know. Bob Iger, I want you to explain to me how you can build a Disneyland. I mean, it's not an Epcot, it's not an Animal Kingdom, it's not an MGM Studios. It's a Shanghai Disneyland without a railroad. That was a big mistake. That's all I'm saying. All right, guys. Thank you all so much. You're right. It was sacrilege. Chinese. You're right. It's Chinese transportation laws. I had heard that somewhere too. Thank you all. Have a great evening. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Next video drops Saturday at 5 p.m. and that'll be a Cordelia's Cafe build. And you're going to learn more about using Photoshop than you ever wanted to know for modeling buildings. Thank you all. Have a great evening. Thanks for following the channel. Thanks for watching. Thanks for helping me live my dream here and build models and play with trains for a living. It's great. I love you all. Have a great night. Adios for now.